Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Korra comic news update. And yeah, this is a follow-up to obviously the reveal of Runes of the Empire, the next Korra comic from last time out. And as expected, the Penguin Random House listing was in fact kind of put up early. It seems like, as you can see here, Entertainment Weekly, EW.com, as I predicted, was meant to have the exclusive reveal of this. But, you know, they were a day late on it. I suppose the Penguin Random House were a day early, but they do still have something exclusive, and that is preview pages for the first couple of pages of Runes of the Empire Part 1. So this is pretty crazy because we don't even have preview pages for Imbalance Part 1, yet we have a bunch of preview pages for this book, which I think a lot of Korra fans didn't really expect to get announced, and we already have preview pages, so they're really on the ball with this. Nothing really to the article. They just covered a lot of the recent news for Avatar stuff, go over turf wars, and then basically cover what the description for this book says. They don't actually quote the description for this book, the product listing, but they basically kind of rephrase it. So, you know, there's no real substance to, I suppose, the article, but they do have preview pages here. So this, as far as they say here, is in fact the first couple of pages featuring the opening of Kuvira's trial. So we see her here. I yielded to the Avatar, I gave up my empire, I surrendered my freedom. The people I had once considered my family hate me, but that isn't enough for them. Now those in power want to humiliate me. And she says, we get here, by executive order of President Julie Moon, this special tribunal is now in session. You stand accused of crimes against peace during your reign as leader of the Earth Empire. Your transgressions included refusing to turn over emergency powers granted to you by former President Raiko and King Wu, numerous wars of aggression throughout the Earth Kingdom states, presiding over inhumane prison camps, invading the United Republic, a sovereign nation, and the use of spirit energy as a weapon of mass destruction. How do you plead? And what she says here is, I'm sorry for the harm I've caused to the people of the Earth Kingdom and the city, I truly am, but this tribunal seems all too eager to list my offences without giving consideration to my achievements. After the fall of the Earth Queen, the kingdom fell into chaos when no one was willing to step up. I brought back order. I dragged an ancient culture out of the Dark Ages and modernized it. Everything I did for the greater good of the Earth Kingdom and its citizens. How do you plead? Not guilty. So that's pretty surprising. Of course, everyone discussing it as she walks off. And Su Yin, of course, goes over. So this is sort of what we were waiting for here. Not guilty. The whole world knows what you did, Kuvira. What are you trying to prove? Don't turn your back on me. I know it hurt you and your family, but you all turned your backs on me long before the Earth Empire ever existed. That's a lie. I gave you a home, I provided for you. But I was never really part of your family, was I? You attacked Fu, you almost killed my son, and I've apologized numerous times, wanting you to see through all of your anger to forgive me. That's what you don't get. Being sorry isn't enough. You need to take responsibility for what you've done. Goodbye, Kuvira. This is really, really, really interesting. That they're taking this path with her, because I think you could almost predict that by the way she ended, like she kind of talks about in this opening one, she gave up and stuff like this, you almost would expect her to just be like, I'll accept any punishment that you're going to give me. So I do find it interesting, but somewhat in character for Kuvira, that they're having her kind of stand up and really, you know, use her kind of charisma, try and take some command in this situation and not just basically go fully down and just be kind of completely like put on trial for this, trying to argue a case to some degree. But I think like Su Yin sort of says, it's really difficult to kind of fully understand why she says like not guilty. Like the crimes they're accusing her of, to say not guilty just to me feels like, what? Like she's trying to justify it that because she helped in all of these situations, that cancels out what she's doing. Obviously that she's trying to make a point here of like, she's not going to be kind of humiliated, made an example of in all of this. She's trying to make a point herself, and I suppose her doing this is going to be what sort of prompts what I suppose remains of the Earth Empire to sort of fight for her, in that not everyone's going to agree with the new path with the king, stepping down, getting rid of the monarchy, and trying to, I suppose, make things more like Republic City. So, things are really going to come to a head here. And immediately I like that they are addressing the core of the Suyin and Kuvira issue that I think most people have always had an issue with, of just like, what is the relationship between Suyin and Kuvira? Because we were told a couple of times in book 4 that Suyin basically adopted Kuvira to a degree, but none of their scenes together ever really came across like Kuvira is effectively a adopted daughter to Suyin. So this helps to sort of clarify that to some degree. Of course, they're going to need to go into this a little bit more. I'd almost assume that this really suggests we'll probably have to get flashback stuff, in terms of like Suyin arguing, no, I provided for you, but like she was never part of the family. And kind of Suyin sort of ignores that, but points out the obvious thing of like, you tried to, like, you captured most of my family, like you nearly killed my son and all these other people. I suppose they're both, you can see that it's very personal. There's this overall issue of like the trial of Kuvira, but then there's this secondary issue of just the personal relationship between Kuvira and Suyin here. And this, I think, could really help to clarify what has always been one of the weaker parts of book 4, which is the sudden turn for Kuvira from the person that we see in book 3 to suddenly being like, oh, you don't want to take over the whole Earth Kingdom as like a dictator. How dare you? I'm going to do it instead. That what really turned Kuvira into Kuvira the Great Uniter. Basically, this could help to properly explain that a bit more and the significance of it on their relationship. So I'm very excited to see where they go from this, because obviously Korra is right there. She's in the middle of all of this, where like she's close with Suyin, but she sort of has this connection with Kuvira in that in book 4 they definitely made the point of trying to note how similar they are, and that in a way, yes, Kuvira did step in to stabilize things. That is something she did, but she has to. This is, I suppose, the one kind of thing of her, like, she has to be punished for what she did. Like, I get the point that they're trying to make, and maybe Korra might eventually try and argue for the point of like, yes, she deserves to be punished, but would it not be a waste to just have someone like her, who could be so useful, just basically in prison for the rest of her life? Is there no way where she can sort of repay what she has done wrong to the rest of the world? That sort of thing. Kind of reminds me a little bit of kind of like the kind of punishment style thing in like in Naruto, when by the end, after all the crazy stuff that's happened, to really fix things they have to make these what seem like lenient decisions on certain characters who've committed great crimes, but that's the path to peace, is by kind of changing things from making these really harsh decisions that only cause like revenge and that sort of thing, to actually trying to, I suppose, rehabilitate people. But I think the core definitely here is Kuvira and Suyin. This conversation isn't done. They've both kind of glanced past a couple of things here. So Kuvira doesn't really seem to be taking full responsibility for what she's done. She's kind of like, oh, you're trying to like intimidate me, humiliate me on trial, but to say like not guilty feels a bit weird. And even just the fact that, wait, what about the positives I've done? It's like it's not really a great point to make, because oh yeah, you did all this stuff, but you did it by doing this and this and this. That's not how we do things. So I'm super intrigued by this. I love the art. I have to say, I think the art is exactly what we needed. This feels really show accurate. I'm very pleased. It seems very consistent, even the kind of smaller background shots, and of course it's only going to improve as the books go on, but I'm super impressed. Like, you can see all most of the characters there. Like, there's Wu, Raiko's in the second row, there's Raiko's campaign manager still there, Zhu Li, Mako Bolin, Huan, of course, Wei Wing. Like, there's good detail here, and I think that's a huge positive, and I think Michelle Wong's going to be a really, really strong artist for this. So, first impressions on the actual core of what Ruins of the Empire is about, hugely positive for me. I think this looks set to be basically the really, really strong second comic for Korra comics, like Avatar comics have. The Search is, I think, probably more or less the best Avatar comic. This looks like it's going to be a very strong second book showing. So in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on these preview pages. I think for sure this is the most discussion heavy preview pages we've ever got, immediately addressing stuff that we've been thinking about for so long. What are your thoughts on Suyin and Kuvira, everything that's going on here? So let me know that in the comments. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.